Becca Mann, your garden coach here. It is the middle of February and we are just in time to complete our fruit tree pruning. So I'm going to run through what I feel are the main things to consider when pruning our fruit trees and preparing them for the year ahead. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at my tree and remove any weeds around the base. And they can go directly over to our beautiful pigs here. And we're actually growing this fruit tree here, not only to provide us fruit for South Brockwell's Farm Shop, where I'm based here at the Polytunnel Project, but also it'll help shade our little pigs. This is our pigsty where we rear our pigs for our farm shop. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be reducing this pear tree. I'm trying to aim for a pear tree really that I could pick the pears at no longer than arm's reach. So I'll be reducing these very long water shoots, probably a lot of them by 2/3. And then I will be taking out any dead and damaged and diseased stems. So anything that maybe is snapped, that's crossing, that's, you know, I'm not too sure, that it's not looking strong. And then the final thing I'm going to do is try and create air in the middle of the tree. When we're pruning fruit trees, we want to create a nice bowl shape so the air can flow through the tree and help prevent disease. And the last thing you'll notice about this pear tree is it's staked on the left-hand side. I'm going to redo the ties. And what the important thing is where I'm staking, that is our strong southwesterly. So you always stake your fruit trees and you always stake it between the prevailing wind and the tree. So let's have a little prune and then we can have a look afterwards. Remember, when pruning, prune just above a node. That's our growth point, that's our hormone point. And prune on a 45-degree angle so that our bud is here up this side and the water flows away from it. But I will show you that in closer detail. When pruning fruit trees, these are my weapons of choice. My Falco secateurs, and I tend to go for the ones with the RSA, twisty handle, RSI, twisty handle. It prevents me getting repetitive strain injury from all the chopping I do throughout the year. My invaluable silky saw, this is for chopping off larger limbs. And then finally, my sharpened loppers. I also have some long pole loppers that I use for bigger trees. But you want to make sure these are sharp, these are well oiled, and these are disinfected before you start. Okay, we're going to take our first cut now. So I've got this lovely water shoot, this fresh new stem coming off this branch. And what I want to do is reduce it. So I'm going to take 2/3 off. I'm looking for an outward facing node, which is a bud. And then I'm going to take a 45-degree cut just above the node. I don't want to cut through the hormone point of where the bud's coming out. And I'm going to take the cut on a 45-degree angle, a few millimeters above, so that when it rains, the water will run away from the bud. And I'm going to, like magic, do the rest of the tree and show you the results. There we have it, our tidied pear tree. Now the last thing to do is mulch it. And what's interesting about this pear tree, I got no pears off it last year because we had a late frost, and the late frost killed off the blossom that we had on the tree. So as it didn't produce, it sent out all those water shoots. So it's put on quite a lot of growth. This tree was actually given to me 2 years ago and has been in the ground about 18 months now, so it's really starting to establish. But now next thing to do is get some well-rotted manure on it. So I'm looking to put about 2.5 centimetres around basically the root zone. So the root zone is the area where the tree puts the roots down around. So, you know, a nice 50 centimetres, a generous area around the base of this tree. And what I'm going to be careful to do is once I've finished this is just make sure there's no manure touching the actual stem. Okay, get in there. And just so you can see, this is my wheelbarrow of manure and wood chips that I have prepared, ready for this job. And I always find it's helpful, have all my tools on hand, get my manure there, get my wood chip, get everything together, and then I can just blitz it out. So, happy with the manure, and then once that's done, I'm just gonna laden, and if I had my spade, I'd be using my spade, but I don't have it, so we're just gonna throw it on with our hand. Get a nice layer of mulch around that base. And what this mulch will do, it'll help keep the moisture in the soil. And these plants will need watering. They're not that old because this site does dry out. So this wood chip mulch will help reduce the wind and the sun from drying the soil out and retain that moisture. And the great thing is, over time, it rots down into humus that our worms pull into the soil and again feeds our plant. It's a win-win, but it does mean you need to do it every late winter, spring. Right, so I think we're almost there. So the only thing I've got to do is put a better tree tie. Mine snapped in a storm this year, so I've got string, not ideal. So I need to get a new tree tie, but I am delighted that that is another job ticked off my late winter to-do list, and I can hopefully now just stand back and enjoy watching this pear tree go into bud, blossom, leaf up, and hopefully give us some pears this year.